What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Bridging the Gap here on the Jersey First TV network. As always, you can check out all your Jersey First content by hitting that little notification bell, hitting that subscribe button. You can also check us out on jerseyfirst.org, where you can watch Bridging the Gap, Real Talk with Fernando, and the Nader Narrative. And you can get us on demand anytime on OnNJ.com, and you just search the On Demand tab and you can get Bridging the Gap over there. Today we have an awesome show lined up for everybody. We're super excited. We have this big interview lined up, and we will bring those guests on in a second. But before that, Steven, how we doing? How's your week been? It's final season still, and how's that treating you?
Yeah, it's definitely final season. No mistakes are made about that.
Mistakes are
Listen, it's
made,
great.
but not about that.
Yes, many mistakes might be made tomorrow, but it's been good. I took my first law school final exam, went down earlier this week. I think I took it on Tuesday, or did I take it on Monday? Took it on Monday. I don't even remember. The week's a blur. The days just blend together. But I took it. I felt great about it. It was in my contracts class, which off the rip was my favorite class this semester. By far, the professor that I had the best connection with, engaged the most with. So I had a great air of confidence walking into that exam. It was exactly what I expected, and I think I performed I needed to. The rest of the week, we've been geared up, ready to take on civil procedure that goes down tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. So by the time you hear this, the audience, I'll have already done it. But I still would love all the energy, the prayers, whatever we're going to send my way to make sure that I beat the curve on this exam, because this is a notoriously tough subject. But I've been putting in hard work. I've been studying hard. It's the only thing that I've done, actually, with the exception of the hour and a half I allow myself to go and lift weights every day. The rest of my time is basically dedicated to studying and making sure I get all these concepts down. But I like the challenge. That's why I'm here. That's what I do this for. And, just as I did on Monday, I will do the same tomorrow, and I will do the same next Tuesday. I'll show up. I'll do what I do. I'll put my best foot forward, give it all I got. And, that's all you can ask for in anything that you do. So.
Absolutely, Steve. That is all you can ask for. And anything you do is just gotta put your best foot forward, try your best. I had my first final of the semester today. As we're recording this on Thursday, it was my evidence class, and you know what? It was a very fair final. Evidence is notoriously a hard class. I'm glad it's out of the way. I'm glad I'm done with it. I have this saying where I just throw myself at the mercy of the curve. So I have done a complete trust fall into the curve and hope for the best. I'm confident with what I put out there. I know for a fact I didn't get everything right, but that's okay. You're never going to get everything right. And it is what it is at this point. Uh, everything I put out everything I could, so that's all you can ask for. And I got 2 more coming up. I got one on Monday and one on Thursday, and then we're done. We're halfway through the whole shebang, and we're on to the next semester, which is going to be grueling. I have a tough schedule next semester. I know that going in, but we'll make it through.
That's what we do. We are the kind of gentlemen, and I hope that we inspire people also to see hard things in front of them, acknowledge that they're hard, prepare yourself, for what's about to come, but you still show up. You don't shy away from a good challenge, because I think those are the things that make us better at whatever it
Absolutely.
might be.
Absolutely true. But look, we do have an interview, and I don't want to keep our guests waiting. So we're going to invite them in. We got Joshua Jen and Katie Mern, and they are two young high schoolers. They're in the New Jersey High School Republicans, and we're very happy to have them on the show. We're going to talk a little bit about them, their political journey, what the New Jersey High School Republicans do, their role nationally, a whole bunch of stuff. So, Katie, Josh, thanks for joining us. I will unmute you guys quick, and I will let you introduce yourself to the audience. Actually, I can't unmute you guys, so if you want to unmute yourselves, that would be awesome. And then you can introduce yourselves. Either way, it doesn't matter who goes first. You guys can decide that.
Sure, I'll go first. My name is Katie Mern, and I am the chairwoman of the New Jersey High School Republicans. I've been involved in this organization for, I want to say, 9-10 months now at this point. I'm a sophomore in high school, and I'm also on the national board. I'm the communications director for the National High School Republican Federation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joshua. I am from Pennington, New Jersey, in Mercer County. I'm a senior in high school, and I serve as the secretary of the New Jersey High School Republicans. And I'm also on the national board, our national body, as the co-chairman or acting co-chairman and our secretary as well. So kind of get to be involved in both branches, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess my first question, right? We're talking about the New Jersey High School Republicans, and I want to know how many schools in New Jersey are these clubs like related to the schools, or are these young people that are involved with that want to get involved with the Republican Party, and it's not really school affiliated? And if that's the case, like how big is this organization? How many high schoolers across the state? If you don't have exact numbers, like what is your estimate? What is going on with that?
Yeah, so we have members currently in eight counties of New Jersey, and we kind of do um, recruiting really through schools. So we start with school chapters, and then we build up into county chapters, and then the state level. There are people who go to schools that are private schools or have rules about like political clubs. So if those students are part of those schools, they are allowed to join just as like a personal joining without a school club. So I know like I go to a school that doesn't really allow political clubs. So I joined just as a member, and I work like on a county level instead of a school level. But yeah, we have members. I want to say in maybe 8 to 10 schools right now, and the member just like floating around that kind of do things outside of schools.
Sure. And how long has the New Jersey High School Republicans been an organization?
Yeah, so we were originally part of the New Jersey Teen Age Republicans all the way back in the 1960s. And then our former chairman, now advisor, kind of swooped in and recovered from what was a very struggling organization. And officially in 2021, we transformed to the New Jersey High School Republicans. But if you want to talk about our structure, that's been around since like 1964. But we've been around since 2021.
Very cool. So that's good. So you guys have been around since 2021. So you're a fairly new organization then. And what spurred it on? Was it like the COVID pandemic that really spurred this into an action? I could see that being something where young people would get more politically active as, it's closing down schools and whatnot.
Yeah. So like Katie kind of mentioned, there was a previous organization and structure that existed pre-COVID, and then after COVID, after 2020 and everything, a lot of it got really just shut down because schools stopped running and the clubs didn't happen. So we kind of lost a base of members, and we started really because we were seeing a lot of the COVID problems in schools, right? Like mask mandates, vaccine mandates, virtual schooling really impacted our generation, and that really inspired, like Katie said, Will Atkins, our advisor and former chairman, and Jeremy Lee, some other people to get the organization restarted, and then we've kind of been able to pick up on their work and keep moving forward, and promoting conservative values for youth and just in general for our state.
So I'm gonna pass over to Steve, but I just have one more quick question before I do that. If you guys can just sort of note quickly, you mentioned the virtual learning and being online during the COVID pandemic. Talk a little bit about that because that's got to be very formative. Steve and I didn't have that type of political experience when we were even in high school. We're not that much older than you guys, especially you, Josh. So like a forming political moment, I would say for Steven and I growing up in high school would probably just be that 2016 election was probably the biggest political moment of our young lives. At least in high school. I don't know. Stephen can maybe point to something else, but nothing as defining as COVID and virtual school, certainly. So talk a little bit about that and how that has led to the new rebirth of this movement.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit about virtual schooling and kind of the mask mandates and everything. So I was lucky enough to go to a school that only went virtual for about 3 to 4 months in the latter part of the 2020 school year. So I was really only virtual for a little bit, but through that time, like it was really clear that schooling is a in-person thing and it needs to be face-to-face and stuff like that. So when public schools really went remote for the whole 2021 school year and even had things after that, I think a lot of teens really saw the need for one school choice, which is a big topic, but also just the government having good balance between public health, but also the necessary needs of our generation. And I think the mask mandates, like vaccine mandates, that really emphasized how there's a sense of government overreach, right? We saw the government really telling people you can not go into these stores and these are essential businesses and whatnot. And we saw the extent of government overreach with churches and shutting down things like violating our religious freedoms and stuff like that with how they reacted to the COVID mandates. And then later on with, telling people you can't come to the country, you can't get a job, you can't go to schools, you can't go to college. And I'm sure you guys definitely experienced some of the college side of that, but just with how the government reacted to COVID and how they mandated these things, it really, I think for me and a lot of my friends, kind of shown through about the need for less government in our lives and a check on our government.
I also think a big part of the whole COVID-19 pandemic was the mental health crisis. And I think I can speak for myself and a lot of my friends. We spend a lot of time on TikTok, the infamous TikTok. And I really think TikTok is a really bad cesspool of a lot of just terrible things. And I think that's where a lot of the mental health problems rose. And I think we're trying to fight back against that. And I think Republicans and conservatives in general are really big advocates for in-person, face-to-face communication. But when we saw that mental health rise, that the crime rise, the immigration rise, these were all things that almost kind of pointed back and came from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, since I didn't jump in the beginning, huge thank you to you guys for being here. I think those are some really great answers, and there's definitely some stuff that I would want to dig into there. I think the first thing for me, just in terms of questioning, because you guys mentioned a lot of pretty big topics. You led off with the promotion of conservative values, talking about less government in our lives, a mental health crisis, immigration, crime, so some big issues. So I'm curious if each of you guys want to take turns. You're both young individuals still in high school. I'm curious, how did you guys get to this point? Because I know when I was 15, I was certainly not thinking about, crime on the border or a mental health crisis. So I'm curious, what are the things either in your personal lives? Is it family? Is it something that happened at school, a teacher, an issue, an event that led you guys to be interested in these issues and take these positions?
Yeah, I guess I can start off with this one. So my parents both immigrated to America when they were in their 20s, and their parents immigrated from China to Taiwan when they were in, I think, their 20s as well. So I come from a pretty long line of people who have immigrated to countries, and I think for me, being involved in politics is fighting for the American dream that my parents came here for and continuing that for future generations. And in college, I really want to pursue public policy. And a big part of that is I want to be able to make changes to our political system, because I've seen the really good of the America and the good that people like to talk about, but also the bad, right? I've seen the problems we do have in America, and I want to be able to make an impact on those problems and really continue to further the American dream for many more generations to come, make it a bigger, broader dream that encompasses people of all genders, all races, all ethnicities, people of all kinds, right? Making sure that America is accessible. And that's kind of why I got involved in politics to begin with, because I really wanted to be able to get that chance to make a difference, to impact public policy. And I think we can talk about this more, but Katie and I have had some really cool chances and are currently working on some really cool programs and opportunities to impact public policy that will make America stronger, and hopefully make New Jersey stronger, but also hopefully make an impact, a small impact maybe, but just in a general sense, impacting the way the policy is going in America and New Jersey. So that's kind of why I got involved.
Yeah, so I actually have a pretty similar answer. So my mom immigrated from what was formerly the USSR when she was 16 years old, now known as Ukraine, that she came from that part of the USSR. But, she told me she came here with $50 in her pocket, and she fought every day to chase the American dream. And I think the reason why America is the dream for everyone is you can make it here. You could be no one. And if you work hard enough, if you pursue your dreams in America, I think the thing is that you have that equality of opportunity you don't have anywhere else. And what I've seen in the last 10 years, well, I've always been political. My whole life, I've always been interested in politics. But I think I started really getting into like Republican ideology when I saw like you can come here, and the thing is, you can't really make it as much as you used to. The American dream is fading. And I think the more people try to put limits and try to hinder the American dream and try to give handouts, that ruins the sparkle and the glimmer of the American dream and hope. And I think when I see the Statue of Liberty, when I visited a Statue of Liberty a few months ago, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like I saw people of all different countries. Like I even talked to some people like in French. But you know, people come there because it symbolizes America. It's like, wow, we have freedom, we have liberty, we have equality. And I think if we don't fight for that, you know, as Ronald Reagan said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. So I want to fight to withhold that.
So thank you guys for sharing that. And I'll say this off the rip: AJ and I show, our show, Bridging the Gap, is all about, you know, coming together on issues and the things that you guys just talked about there. The desire to keep the American dream alive, the fact that you can come here as a nobody, you know, and leave a legacy for your family for generations as somebody, is like the core tenet, I think, of what makes this country great, and something that, even though AJ and I, or the left and the right, might disagree on a lot of things, I'll say this much: you guys are certainly, you know, poised and with the right attitude, and you're fighting for the right things, even though there's going to be people along the way, organizations, communities, groups of people that disagree with how you want to get there. The things that you guys are fighting for and where your beliefs are vested in is a very powerful idea that I think we all want to fight for New Jersey and for a better America. So hats off to you guys. I think those are incredible answers. And you are certainly, I know you don't need to hear this from me or anybody else, but certainly making the people, you know, who got you to this place and gave you all these opportunities proud by continuing to chase and create more opportunities in the future for yourselves and others like you. So I think that's very commendable. My hat quite literally off right now, but to you guys on that. So I want to talk a little bit about the exact organization, what you guys do in the organization. I know, Joshua, you said that policy is kind of like, you know, seems like the bread and butter for you. So can you talk a little bit about how being involved with this particular organization, the, you know, High School Republicans, has helped you get a grasp on, you know, what policy might look like as you move through education, get into that next step of your career, you know, whether it's dealing with difficult people or negotiating, debating, like what are the skills that this organization is providing you that are going to make you better?
Yeah. So in terms of policy, we try to choose things to focus on that are going to be actually passable, right? There's a lot of things we could focus on that, you know, honestly just won't pass in New Jersey sometimes, like things like abortion. That stuff is just not going to fly in the legislature. So we pick things that are, one, passable, and two, impact our generation. So the three bills that we've introduced and are planning on introducing right now. So two of them have introduced. One of them is to give students a day off, to give students an excused absence, for civic engagement. So like protesting, voting, campaigning, you can get a day off for that. That has passed through a committee in the assembly, and we actually just got renewed interest from the assembly chair or committee chair to kind of talk about this bill again and get things rolling. And our other bill is to give 17-year-olds the right to vote in primaries if they are 18 by election day. And this bill has passed the assembly and it's currently being discussed in the Senate. Now, the other bill that we've been working on, and it's not fully introduced yet, but we've been working on sponsors and stuff like that, and meeting with groups around the state, is a bill to increase military education in schools. So the bill would mandate, the current bill in its draft form would mandate some military education sessions, like assemblies, things like that in public schools. And we've been able to work with some really cool veterans groups in New Jersey and get bipartisan support. So our first two bills both have bipartisan sponsorship. We worked on them with the New Jersey High School Democrats and the Eco Socialists of New Jersey, which is the Green Party youth branch. So in terms of policy, we've really tried to pick things that are bipartisan that we can get wide support on, and that's, I think, that impacts our generation. So and what I've learned from that is policy is not just like a cool thing we fly around, right? People actually like introduce bills in Congress that will, impeach Mayorkas, impeach Biden, things that will never actually happen. And I think we, as a state board, we believe that we should be passing things that are actually passable and working on things that, are going to make an impact.
Yeah, I just first of all, I really want to say that I think that both of those bills sound really, really awesome. I really, really like the bill for the 17-year-olds in that as long as they'll be 18 by election day. I think that's smart. They're going to have to vote for these people. They might as well get that choice, even if it's a little bit earlier. And then also, I think that the other two bills I would full on support, right? More education for military in the schools, and then the first bill for that day off for civic engagement. And that reminds me of just a couple of things that I want to point out, and maybe another bill that can come down the pike. I also want to commend you guys for working with the New Jersey Democrats and they were the eco-socialists, the Green Party. I think that's pretty cool, and it shows that there is an appetite for bipartisan support, and maybe it's a way that our what's a good way to phrase this? Our elders, those that are actually in these legislative parties, can say, "Hey, look, there's ways to make compromises here that will be good for the American people, the people of New Jersey. And you, as young people, are doing better than our actual elected politicians at making that happen," which is awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think
Josh.
that really impact that, like, from Congress I'm seeing right now, is the second you get bipartisan support, it's like a dangerous bill, right? People don't want to support it. People don't want to be seen as supporting Democrats. Like Kevin McCarthy, for example, he just got ousted because he worked with Democrats on a bill and, did that bipartisan work and tried to make the government run successfully. Like, it's a thing that's happening with both parties, that the second you involve the other party in a bill, it's, all of a sudden it's a bad bill just because there's a Democrat sponsor. And I think we as a group, we don't want that to happen. We want to be doing the opposite, where we work with our opponents and get things that are going to impact our generation onto the table, onto discussions, and getting them passed, and making that impact that we want.
I also think that, like you said, a lot of the people in Senate and Assembly, you can't blame them. They are a little bit older. You can't really teach an old dog new tricks. But I think as young people, as the new generation, I think compromise, especially in such a polarized world, polarized country, that is the most important thing right now. Like you can see the research every year. Republicans and Democrats are becoming more and more separated, and there's barely any overlap at this point. And I think that's wrong. I think especially people saying like, "Oh, well, I don't agree with this stance for this party that I'm aligned with, but I'll vote for it anyways because I'm a Democrat or a Republican." I think you should vote for the policy, not the party.
Yeah, Katie, I think that's a great point. And one thing I just want to mention two quick things, and then I'll bounce over to Steve. But first, I wanted to mention that I think a big reason why you see this sort of polarization and continued polarization are things like the mainstream media, but also alternative media sources. I think that we are entering an age, because of podcasting, because of blog posting or separate news organizations, of like the news organizations and the journalism was early on in this country, where you had like the Tennessee Democrat and the Tennessee Republican, and they were newspapers. And if you were a Republican, you got the Republican newspaper, and if you were a Democrat, you got the Democrat newspaper, right? So as these mainstream media organizations have begun to falter, and rightfully so in a lot of cases, I will say, what you're seeing is this revert back to these hyper partisan, hyper political entities in the media realm, and there's hundreds of them, and pick your color basically, and you get your journalism, you get the stories that you want, your news feed gets curated to you on social media, right? And you create these echo chambers, and I think that's why we're seeing it. But in real life, when the boots are on the ground, there's so much compromise to be had, and what we've forgotten is that our politicians are in jobs of compromise, our pundits are in jobs of ideology, right? And I think that's important to remember. Pundits should, in their role, be fighting for the most ideological exact position. Our politicians shouldn't be doing that. Our politicians should be trying to make compromises, which is what's best for the American people. The second thing that I want to note, and maybe another bill, Josh and Katie, that you can work on going on, is something a little bit of a bugaboo of mine. I think we should be pushing more vocational schools in New Jersey schools personally, fighting for learning trades for young people. I think college is great for a certain number of people. I think county colleges in New Jersey are wonderful for a certain number of people, but I think trade schools is important for another certain number of people, and they are often too forgotten and neglected. So that's just a little nugget for you to maybe work on if you're not already working on it already. But I'm sure Steven's got some more, so I'm going to bump it over to him, and then you guys can open up.
Yeah. So I'll say this because, again, didn't have the chance. I think those bills, phenomenal things. However, military education, I don't want the military anywhere near me anytime at all, ever, about anything. So I would pass on that one. But bipartisan, I'm with you on the other two. Civic engagement, taking a day off, and the 17-year-olds to vote. I think that's actually a really great, that, in my opinion, that could be a constitutional amendment. Like, forget New Jersey. I think that should be a national thing because, the youth having a say, especially when the crossover is that close. I know it's a case for a lot of kids, but it sounds like incredible work. I think one thing that I really want to pick your guys' brain on, I know when AJ and I first started, because we've had this show, or an iteration of this show, at this point, it's almost like 6 or 7 years, something like that. It's been a long time. But I think the minute for any young person who's trying to be involved in politics, whether it's, commentating, being a pundit, being a journalist, working on legislation, whatever it is, people are always going to have some kind of a reaction to that. The minute that you start talking about these controversial topics or advocating for positions that are your own. So I'm curious, in your guys' experiences, being your age, where you're at in life, what has the reaction to your activism and your involvement been? I want to ask about your friends, but I'm more interested to hear about older people in your life. Do you guys find that you have support from teachers, counselors, like your aunts and uncles, or are these people that, sort of take the opportunity to butt heads with you and, drill into you what they believe is right? Like, do you ever get oh, you're young, you don't know anything? And if so, reaction to that?
Well, like my friends, I do have a personal story that, I went to a very liberal private school, 7th and 8th grade. Indoctrination is real. Don't let anyone tell you that it isn't. So I get my mouth shut. When I was there, I didn't really say anything. But when I got out of 8th grade, I'm like, oh, I'm free now. So I started posting about political stuff. I started, I reposted stories from, the high school reps. And I got to say, quite a few people unfollowed me on Instagram. So that's my story about my friends. But you know what? People who are going to do that to you because of your political opinions aren't your real friends anyways. But as for adults, most adults, they kind of share the same sentiment, like, oh, wow, this is what you're doing is great. Like when I was your age, I wasn't doing this, and you're going to be a superstar one day. So it's great to have support from adults, and I appreciate it. And I know, Josh, do you want to weigh in on this?
Sorry. Yeah, I think I'm lucky enough to go to a school that is definitely on the more conservative side, but it's a very politically balanced school. I would say it's not, there's not that much of a lean there. And I think people at my school are very supportive. Like I don't really get any hate comments per se, or just people don't really comment that much on it. But I did go to a pretty liberal summer program this year, and I think I was pretty surprised to see that people would respect my views, and it wasn't that big of a discussion that we had about me being part of this group. But I think generally people were okay with it. There wasn't any controversy, and I think the biggest thing that I've really been encouraged about is when we meet with people from the NJGOP or bigger name people, right? They're always super supportive of us as a group. People, when I first got involved, I would be thinking, I thought that people wouldn't really look upon a group as a real group per se, or an actual organization. I wouldn't treat it as so. But I think we've really been able to get attention from people, and people treat us like a real group, which is really nice. That we aren't treated as just like a high school, like a youth group, right? They throw us out, but they throw us into the mix. They think about us, they consider us for positions, for they talk to us about like internships and stuff like that. So they really do get us involved, which is really nice.
I would say that that's just a testament to your guys' professionalism and your ability to be articulate and fight for good things. So that's another hats off to you guys. I think my probably last question, just because I know we're running a little bit close to our time here, and then AJ, I do think we should crack out the good 3 questions at the end of the interview.
Of course.
But I guess I'm curious. So you guys are young, you're involved in this, high school organization. If you guys could speak, you have a minute to every high school student in the country, and you want to motivate them to go and support whatever they believe. What's your message to that person? Like, what's the thing that you say to them to instill the confidence that you guys have in yourselves to stand up and fight for what you believe in? Because I do think that we need more young people who are willing to take a stand and fight for what they believe, regardless of the noise around them.
I think at the end of the day, you're fighting for your future, no one else's future. You got to fight for yourself. You got to stand up for yourself, because you are your biggest fan, and you should be your biggest fan. And whether you are a Democrat or Republican, if you believe in that and if you have your convictions, you should fight to the death for that.
Yeah, to build off what Katie said, there's this misconception right now, in general, that politics today is today's politics, right? But the reality is that the things being passed today impact what I go through as I grow up and be an adult, what my kids will go through, what my grandkids will go through, right? So the policies being passed today are super impactful for the future. And, if you don't like what we're seeing, if you have complaints, do something about it. That's my biggest thing. Just get involved, sign up for a campaign, find anything, get involved, right? People want young people to be in politics. Everybody will take you. Go Google that group you want to be part of, go sign up, fill out that form, text that person, do something. That's what I would say.
Josh and Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. I have so many more questions that you guys will have to come on, because I don't know, you hear a lot about what young people, high schoolers, people currently in the education system and what they go through. And I have so many things to pick your brains about, because quite frankly, Steve, we graduated high school at this point like 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago, which isn't that
long.
Which isn't that long ago. But I do have this feeling that it's a totally different world than the world that Steven and I grew up in. And so I have so many more questions, a million things to ask, but unfortunately there is a time limit here. So we have 3 final questions. We like to ask these questions for all of our guests. So we're going to ask you those questions, and then we're going to say our goodbyes. So the first question that we like to ask all of our guests is this. You are stuck on an island, okay? And you have 1 book, 1 movie, and 1 television series that you can watch forever. And you can read forever, and so on. And if you want to throw in maybe like 1 artist, like your favorite artist or something like that, what are your stuck on an island, literature, movie, TV show, and artist? Whoever wants to go first. If you want Steve and I go first, we could do that too.
This is always the hardest question. Every interview we've ever done.
Yeah, I think I'll kick it off.
All
I
right.
think the book, I would say the Bible. I think there's a lot of really great stuff, and that's a bit really serious book for me. So the Bible, I'd say, for the book. The movie, I would say, this might be a cheat answer, but I say the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But if I had to choose, probably the third one. The third one's really my favorite one. TV show, I love Parks and Recreation or The Good Place.
Nice.
I love the shows. And then artist, I'd maybe say Taylor Swift, because she has some really good music. Maybe controversial take, but she has some really, I think she has good music.
Josh, I would say that's the least controversial take you could probably have.
Josh is a big
artist in America.
Josh is a big Swiftie. We love it for him.
She just sold $1 billion worth of tickets on tour or something like that. I don't think that's very controversial.
It's some insane money.
Okay, maybe I'll go next. Book, I'll say The Catcher in the Rye. That's my favorite book of all time. Movie, You know what? I'll say Dead Poet Society. It's a really, really good movie.
Oh yeah.
TV series, Gossip Girl, and then artist. I think I'll say Olivia Rodrigo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. If you were wondering, my TV show would be The Office. My movie would be 50 First Dates. It's my guilty pleasure movie. I can watch that movie on repeat. It's a weird one, I know. My book, that's a tough one. There's so many books that I really, really enjoy. But you know what? I don't even have a book. I think the Bible's a good answer because there's so many different narratives that you can weave in, and whether you're reading it as a religious text or a narrative text, I think it's an important one. And there's a lot there. It's really dense. You can spend your whole life studying it. So I'm gonna steal that answer, Josh. I think that's a good one. And then artist, well, that's easy. That's Billy Joel. He's been my top artist on Spotify since I've gotten Spotify, and it will never change.
This guy. So if I'm going movie, I'm taking Point Break every day of the week. I could watch that movie 100 times. Patrick Swayze's a stud. Love him. Book, I think, is difficult, and the answer probably would change every time that I had to answer this question. But right now, I would say Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, his autobiography. It's incredible. There's just gems, great stories, wisdom, everything that you need in a book. TV show, that's another one that probably changes all the time. But I'm going to go Sopranos. It's classic. You can't beat it. Episodes will, really drag you in. A lot of subplots. Good story. And then artist, I take Jay-Z to the bank every day. That's the guy. Hove.
All right, Steve. Yeah, the second question.
You're going to make me embarrass myself because I can't remember what the second question is.
That's good. I got the second question for you. All right, you're in New Jersey, right? You're taking a road trip. You're taking a road trip out to California. You got one person to go with you on the road trip, dead or alive. Who are you taking with you on the road trip? I'll give you time to think. I personally am taking probably Theo Vaughn at this point. I think I could. I love that man. He's an American gem.
I would take, and don't hate me for this. I'd take Donald Trump because he would have had the funniest takes of all time on the road trip. He is
I respect it.
And he'd be so funny. He would make this trip so short.
I love that. That's a good answer.
You know what? I have an interesting answer. Not that I am obsessed with this person or anything, but honestly, since he's dead, I'd take Al Capone. I gotta hear the stories, man. He probably has some really interesting stories to tell.
That's an interesting one. I like it. Al Capone. Steve, who are you taking?
I think this answer is always the same for me, probably. I'm taking Steve Jobs.
Fair.
Me and Steve are just going. We're talking about life, design, philosophy, Apple. Is Tim Cook doing a good job? Probably not. So much to talk about. Tim Apple.
No, see, Josh is picking Donald Trump for a very similar reason I picked Theo Vaughn. It'd be unhinged. It'd be wild.
Pure
He'd say the
comedy.
craziest things.
Maybe I'll steal Donald Trump. I feel like that's going to be a really interesting car ride.
All right, Steve, you got the last question, though. I know that's true.
This one I will never forget. So we might have to change it. I don't know, because I think we might be hitting an age discrepancy here. So we're basically going to ask you to toss up two New Jersey legends here. However, if neither of them are, in your purview, I think I have some alternatives that we could suggest. But the classic question is always, you're getting in the car on that road trip with Donald Trump, and you got to decide Bruce Springsteen or Bon Jovi. Who is the soundtrack to the road trip?
Bon Jovi.
I'm going to say, for full transparency, I don't listen to I don't listen to much of their music, but I would think Bon Jovi because I've heard one of his songs that he collabed with Taylor Swift on. But it's like my full extent of my Bon Jovi or Bruce Springsteen.
What about Sinatra? Is that a third option?
Sinatra can be an option. He's from Hoboken.
Yep. I'd give you Sinatra or Whitney Houston as alternatives.
Whitney Houston's from New Jersey as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She's from the Oranges.
Wow. Did not know that either.
We got a lot. We got a lot of great musicians, a lot of great artists from New Jersey. And so, if you're going to be involved in Jersey politics, I'd say here's your homework assignment from me. Listen to as much New Jersey artist content as you can because we have so many great ones. I think we got. I just to rattle off a couple. You got Frank Sinatra from Hoboken. You got Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. You got Bon Jovi. You got Bruce, the Boss. You got who am I? Queen Latifah's from New Jersey, right?
Queen Latifah. You got Lauryn Hill and the Fugees. SZA.
So
SZA's
many.
from New Jersey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know any of this. Learn something new every day, I tell you.
You learn something new every day. So there you go. Those are your Jersey icons. That's your homework. Beef up on some of that knowledge there. And look, Katie, Josh, I am so proud of you guys. Even though I had just met you, I think that what you're doing is awesome. I think a lot of people can learn from this, whether they're on the conservative end of the political spectrum or the liberal end of the political spectrum. I think you're shining examples of young people being civically active, which is something that's so important. It's the future of our country. To quote the great Whitney Houston, I believe the children are the future. We must let them lead the way. So keep doing what you're doing. Don't ever stop. I'm going to let Stephen wrap it up, and then I'll let you guys say your goodbyes, okay?
I just want to take the opportunity to express the same sentiment as AJ. I think what you guys are doing is incredible. I know it's not easy. You guys are young. You have your whole lives ahead of you, and you're at a particular point where, like it's time to start about what you want your future to look like. And the two of you both have a very strong grasp on who you are, what you believe is right, what you believe is worth fighting for. And my best advice and my biggest thing I would say is just never lose sight of those things, because that's your character, and your discipline is going to take you further in life than anything else will. You guys are off to an incredible start. It's been an awesome time having you guys on, and I would love to do this again. And maybe we could talk some more policy things, get into a little debate, because I would certainly love to go through the academic gymnastics of picking your guys' brains and really figuring out some stuff. But moral of the story is you guys have a lot to be proud of. And although we might disagree on how we get to the end goal, we're all here fighting for the same thing, which is just a better, fairer, and overall, the preservation of the American dream, keeping America and New Jersey as great as they always have been, if not greater than they, ever have been. So you guys are the next generation, and I hats off completely to you guys. Incredible work.
Absolutely. So Josh, Katie, say your goodbyes. Tell us where we can find out more about the New Jersey High School Republicans and keep up with you guys. All right.
Right. Go to njhsreps.org/join to sign up if you're interested in starting a chapter. Follow us on Instagram at njhsreps and on X, formerly Twitter, at njhsreps.
Thank you so much for having us on, AJ and Stephen. I hope you guys have the best of luck on your finals and the best of luck on everything else.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. But look, like all good things, this too must come to an end. Josh and Katie, you guys have such a bright future. I'm super excited to see all that you do. Josh, you said you were a senior in high school, so that means college is around the corner. Good luck with that. Hopefully we talk to you before that, but if not, you're going to do great. Katie, you got a couple more years left in high school there, so just keep doing what you're doing. Good luck on all of that stuff. But look, my last piece of advice is you guys have a lot, you know a lot, you have a great head on your shoulders, and you have a lot of time ahead of you. Don't be afraid to learn new things. Don't be afraid to change your mind about things. Open yourself up to new ideas. But that doesn't mean you should not fight for what you believe in, and you should remember, like Stephen said, the reasons that you're in the fight. Okay. But with that, we have to say goodbye. You can subscribe on Jersey First TV on YouTube. You can check us out on jerseyfirst.org. Sign up for our newsletter, sign the pledge, and we will talk to you all next week. I hope everybody has a lovely Saturday and Sunday. And we'll be back. Stephen will be completely done with his first semester of law school, so we can shower him with praise. And I will be halfway through law school myself, so it'll be a good time the next time that we speak. Stephen and I will be in a much better mood. But with that, everybody, have a lovely weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.